If I have some time, I can try to sign in with the temple information. But
yeah, we can.
so.
Text 67. Idam te nata pakshaya nabhaktaya kadachana na cha shushushave vachyam na cha mamyo vyasuyati. This confidential knowledge may not be explained to those who are not austere or devoted, or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Text 68. Ya idam paramam guya mad bhakteshvavidhasiti bhaktim mai param kritva mame vaishyatya samshaya. The one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Text 69. Na chatasma manusheshu kaschin me priyakritamaha bhavitat na cha me tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Text 70. Adhyashate chaya imam dharmyam svadvadam avyo jnana yagyena tenaham ishtasyamiti me mati. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation worships me by his intelligence. Text 71. Shraddhavan anusuyascha shinuyad apiyo nara sopi mukta shubhalokan prabnuyat punya karmanam. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reaction and attains to the planets where the pious dwell. Text 72. Kachid etachchutam partha tvaya yaikagrina chetasa kachid ajnana sammoha pranashtaste dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, have you heard this attentively with your mind? And are your illusions and ignorance now dispelled? Text 73. Arjuna uvacha nashto maha smritir labdha tat prasadan maya chuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions. Text 74. Sanjaya uvacha ityaham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmana sangvadam imam ashrosham adbhutam brahmaharshanam. Sanjaya said, Thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Text 75. Vyasa pradhatach shrutavan etad guyam aham bharam yogam yogeshwarar krishnat sakshat katayata swayam. By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. Text 76. Rajam sangsmritya sangbadam imam adbhutam keshavarjunayo punyam rishyami cha mahur mahur. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment. Thank you. Now we'll go back to text 66. Okay, so translation. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Purport. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge. processes of knowledge, knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Super Soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. In the 8th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead, ultimately, to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis of his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in the mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all sinful reaction. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some of them are attracted by the super soul feature, etc. But one who is attracted by the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge. And this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics, and devotees are all called transcendentalists. But one who is a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here, ma shucha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna, but such worry is useless.
this is a great verse. It devastates Maya. It's very simple, straightforward. Krishna is saying that whatever other religions you have, maybe they're 95% complete, or 90% or 80 or something, whatever percent. Better you just continue them, because abandon means just abandon, give it up, put it aside, and so don't do it anymore. That's what Krishna's saying. Don't do it. What do? Do what Krishna wants. That's what Arjuna is saying here. That's his conclusion. That now all my confusion is gone, all my doubts are finished. I'm firm, ready to act as you will instruct me. And he's giving instructions to the bona fide spiritual master. Instructions such as rise early, take bath, chant your rounds, go to Mangalar, all these things. These are practices of Bhakti Yoga. And they lead to perfection of Bhakti Yoga, highest stage of love of God. Hare Krishna.
Jai Maharaj. So let's hear the next verse. Text 67. This confidential knowledge may not be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Purport. Persons who have not undergone the austerities of the religious process, who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee, and especially those who are conscious of Krishna as a historical personality, or who are envious of the greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of knowledge. It is, however, sometimes found that even demoniac persons who are envious of Krishna, worshipping Krishna in a different way, take to the profession of explaining Bhagavad Gita in a different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid such commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous, even if one is not sensuous, but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic scripture. If he is not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. Even when one poses himself as a devotee of Krishna, but is not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, he also cannot understand Krishna. There are many persons who envy Krishna because he has explained in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the supreme and that nothing is above him or equal to him. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of Bhagavad Gita, for they cannot understand. There is no possibility of faithless persons understanding Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of a pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon Bhagavad Gita. So this is referring to how persons who are envious, the word is abhyasuyati. Mam yo abhyasuyati. That means, unto me, anyone who is envious. So such persons cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada makes a nice point here in the purport too, that actually the purpose of Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous. Then he puts a hyphen and then he explains an additional point on the same lines, which is that even if one is not sensuous, so Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita states that anybody who's too much addicted to material sense gratification or material opulence, bhoga aishvarya prasaktanam, taya pratachetasam, they cannot actually become one-pointed and convinced about performing devotional service to the Lord. If we're too much addicted to sense gratification, then it's not possible to become determined and steadfast to serve him. So, navidhiyate, it doesn't happen, it doesn't occur. The vyavisayatmika, that single-pointed and focused devotional service. But Prabhupada makes an additional point, and he said, if somebody is too sensuous, then they cannot understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. What is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita? Surrender to Krishna. Your minds think alike. So surrender to Krishna is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. And surrender practically means service. So because Krishna has asked for that service, as Maharaj was mentioning, that service for us looks like the instructions coming through the bona fide chain of disciplic succession. And we're very fortunate because we have a very, very special and pure devotee of Lord Krishna, who's our preeminent Shiksha Guru. Srila Prabhupada is making his instructions on devotional service available to every person, every man, woman, and child. There's a really cool song about that, how the devotees are trying to spread these books to every man, woman, and child. And every single one of them can hear Prabhupada's instructions on serving Krishna. And that's what surrender means, is to follow those things. So Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita himself describes how we should chant his names, we should glorify him, we should always think of him, we should surrender unto him. Well, rather, we're talking about the details of surrender. We should offer obeisances to him, we should worship him and become his devotee. So like that. So then in this purport, Prabhupada is describing how we have to come in touch with the pure devotees. And well, he was mentioning that in the previous verse too, but in this purport, Prabhupada mentioned this cool point, which it says, those who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee. So those are the positive aspects which we're trying to accept in this Krishna consciousness movement, because we're trying to tend to Srila Prabhupada's needs. And, we all do that every day in more or less capacity. And then we also care for his devotees, and in that way we can check that box. And that's the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement, is to have devotee association. And those who are strictly following the pure devotee, they can also be considered a pure devotee. Of course, the pure devotee doesn't ever think that they're a pure devotee. They think, well, actually, I'm not following properly. I'm not following strictly enough to be considered like that. Though he can, according to Srila Prabhupada's example, he can accept one credit, that I am simply trying to repeat the instructions of my spiritual master, and I'm simply trying to carry out his orders. That is the credit that we're trying to do those things, which are that's our life and soul, to do those things, to repeat the words of our spiritual master and to follow his instructions. So that whatever my effort to do that, that's my credit. The result, I'm not very much impressed with myself that, I'm not trying very hard, or I'm not trying, I'm not doing it. I'm not living up to his expectations, or I'm not, I'm not at that strict platform. But whatever credit is there, it's because I'm doing what he said and I'm saying what he said. So he gets all the credit, and therefore we say all glories, to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees, like that. Because it's their credit. I'm just trying to do what they say. I'm just trying to be an assistant, be a servant. So this whole conversation is not understandable by persons who are envious of Krishna and have nothing to do with devotional service. Serving others, being assistant, giving other people credit, this is practically the antithesis of spiritual life. Or the material life, in the material world, everybody is trying to get the credit, keep the credit, run it back, again, year after year, another championship ring, another, hit album, another Oscar, another, celebrity relationship, another sports car, another mansion, another empire, This is what people are trying to do in the material world. And they really work on it. And there's been a lot of cases where persons who have previously invested a lot into that false ego and eventually lose whatever borrowed plumes that they had accumulated. They really have a lot. They have an identity crisis, especially persons who are into bodybuilding or money making and so on and so forth, beauty. Such persons inevitably lose those things, especially the muscles and the beauty. Muscles for the men and beauty for the women. They stay for some time and then they go. And it's like a flower. A flower is very, very much pleasing at the beginning, but it becomes very detestable. If anybody made garlands with donated flowers, then you know about that. The flower, which used to be very beautiful and fragrant and fresh and clean, pure. It's amazing, isn't it? When the flower buds is completely pure. You know, it's completely clean. It's like a spotless thing. There's no dirt on it. It's just like fresh as can be. But in due time, it starts getting slimy and gross and brown and black and stinky. So just like that, our beauty and our strength, they're like that. We may have a lot of strength in our arm now, you know, but at a certain age, then, you know, we're going to lose that. We have to lose it. That's the laws of nature. And so a thoughtful person says, well, why am I so much proud of these borrowed plumes? Borrowed plumes is a phrase which Prabhupada uses to describe the opulences that Krishna endows to the conditioned soul according to his karma. And if we become overly proud of these borrowed plumes, then we're bound to be disappointed when we lose them. So that was like Jagannath Prabhu had told us that it's like, how can something be mine if I have to return it or give it back? It's not actually mine at all. You know, that this is the situation. So how can I falsely possess this material body and mind? It's not even mine. You know, but this is the problem that we have in the material world. So these are the persons who cannot properly understand the explanations of Bhagavad Gita. So, interestingly enough, we don't refrain from engaging them in devotional service. We may not explain the contents of Bhagavad Gita to them, but we may be able to sell them a Bhagavad Gita. And if they give some money for this book, then they may be able to understand the explanations which are inside. Especially if they're humble enough to read the purport. And many people know. Many people are wise enough to understand that, well, there's different parts of this book. There's this weird stuff at the top, and then there's this big black text, and then there's this thing underneath called purport. And I saw the other Bhagavad Gitas were like this big. So what's up with this one? Oh, this guy must have wrote something. He must have given his interpretation. That's how they think about it. Actually, Prabhupada didn't give an interpretation. He gave a purport. So he explained the same thing which Krishna had given. He just made it more clear. He just took some more time to explain it, just so we have same essence, just elaborated. So if somebody is humble enough to hear that and to consider what Prabhupada is saying about Krishna, then they have a big chance. So that's the idea behind this Krishna consciousness movement, is that we try to give as many people as possible the opportunity to do some service for Krishna. And that's why when we go out, practically speaking, we have a few practical goals in mind. We have a general goal, which is to be bearers of goodwill. That's kind of like a general policy, is we're just bearers of goodwill. We are carrying the goodwill of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we just take that wherever we go. That everybody can take the Krishna consciousness and be happy forever, eternally. But we that goodwill precipitates. That means that goodwill precipitates, just like the mercy cloud of the spiritual master. He gets the mercy from Lord Krishna, and when the rain cloud collects enough moisture, then it precipitates, and that moisture accumulates into droplets, and it bursts from the cloud. And there's something called a cloud burst, which is basically means that it reaches the capacity and all the water comes out. And it's it's amazing. Krishna is like amazing person, he did all this stuff. And this is just the material world. What to think of the rain showers in the spiritual world, what to think of that Govardhan Leela, that was just Indra's play, So, but just like that, the Lord Krishna the spiritual master is getting that goodwill, that mercy from the ocean of mercy, Lord Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, and then he's filled up with that mercy through his sincere practice. And then he whatever overflow is there, it bursts from him into everyone he meets. So that's our practice too, is we're meant to follow in the footsteps of Prabhupada and practice sadhana, fill up our cup with that mercy, that compassion, that goodwill for everyone, everywhere. And then we try to share it with anybody and everyone, especially with each other, And that's kind of what we're trying to do and Krishna is doing that for us also, he's giving us scenarios where we have an opportunity to meet certain people and to associate with them. And if we can be bearers of goodwill to each other, and we can share our goodwill with each other, and always, be well-wishers, for each other. And then he will give us the opportunity to spread that a little bit wider, and there's so many people that he would like us to contact, to give this goodwill to them. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to whomever and whoever you meet, tell them the instructions of Krishna or glorify Krishna together with them, like that. And Lord Krishna says that too, bodhas param parasparam katayantascha, that they're always doing katha amongst each other, and they're discussing about Krishna. They're discussing about the process of devotional service, or they're discussing the details of service to Krishna that has to be performed. Some people are a little bit more into that side. Some people are more into the side where they talk about Krishna's Leela. Some people are more into the side where they talk about what has to get done for Krishna's pleasure. Talking about Krishna and hearing about Krishna is, in one sense, the most important way to please Krishna, according to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Prabhupada has also explained that forms the foundation. But we're also have active natures, and there's a lot of things that we have to do for Krishna, especially when we have deities and we have the spiritual master, and we have a temple. It's like Krishna gave us a big responsibility as a team, so it's like there's a lot to talk about just on the the practical side, nuts and bolts side. Like, okay, let's do this with this stuff and move this over there and clean that up and make this and prepare this. And all that is actually transcendental. If it's coming in the parampara system, if it is in fact pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, or, like we were hearing this morning, Prabhupada was saying that, he's 80% lenient. So it means that, it's like, even when we try to please Prabhupada, but it may not be exactly what Prabhupada would want for us, he's still very kind and he appreciates that effort, just like Lord Krishna. So our idea is to try to hone ourselves to be more and more pleasing to Prabhupada. And we do that through trying to learn how to please him through, through his disciples, through his representatives, and then so on and so forth. So those are my comments. And thank you for your time. Hare Krishna. Would anybody like to say something? Yes, Jagannath Prabhu. Can you use a microphone?
So in 1866, it was saying that the last paragraph of 1866 says something about doing devotional service in full consciousness. There it is. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge. And I was just wondering, does devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness mean a constant thought of Krishna?
Yes, but it's there's an example which describes how the person at work, he may go to work and he is, say he's an engineer and he has to make some drawings in the computer, make some calculations in the spreadsheets, print out some documents, get them reviewed by another engineer, work together like that. He has to make a submittal to the city for approval. So during that time, he's very much absorbed, and ideally, he should be absorbed in those activities. But on his desk, he has a picture of his wife or his kids or his grandma or whatever. Or he has a picture of Lord Krishna, So then he's doing his work, but actually he's doing it for them. Because why would he be at work anyway? So it's interesting. Full consciousness means that we're fully absorbed in our service to Krishna. So Krishna is non-different than his service. So if we're fully absorbed in our service and attentive to our service, then that is being in full consciousness of Krishna. So at different times, then that full consciousness looks different ways. And attentive. Yeah. So You could also, I'll also add that full consciousness means that we're doing it for the purpose of attaining pure devotional service, or we're doing it to please Krishna. That means we're fully conscious. That means I'm in Krishna consciousness, or I'm doing devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness, means I want to please Krishna. That's my only motive, is to give pleasure to Krishna. So that means pure devotional service, and that's the most confidential part of knowledge. That's Bhakti Vedanta, that's Bhakti Vedanta. That's the most confidential part of knowledge. So it's a cultivation, and Maharaj was describing very encouragingly that, we should start where we're at and follow the orders of the spiritual master, and try our best. And there's no reason to fear. There's no reason to worry, and there's no reason to hesitate. Okay? Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to assembled devotees.